says host.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
watch this. Now, Phyllis is going to get up, walk away from the screen. What?
We are live.
Okay, I'll do. Good morning, everyone, and I'm going to be right back.
Good morning, Scott, and good morning to everyone. This is Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your co-host, Phyllis Tribby. I am a distinguished Toastmaster and a past district director. Your real host is also here. Please welcome Scott Tranzu, our club growth director. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Good morning, Phyllis, and good morning, Phyllis. So in stereo, no less. So happy Thursday morning, everybody. And we have Phyllis Wall joining us this morning, Division Director Extraordinaire. And we're just going to have a nice little chat this morning about everything that Phyllis ever learned by being a Toastmaster, which we're going to fit into 29 Phyllis Wall, that is 29 minutes. I don't want to make Phyllis Tribby scared, although that's probably fairly easy for me to do too. Anyways, so Phyllis Wall,
Yes.
good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I am going to embarrass you a little bit, possibly, but
happening.
how many years now have you been a Toastmaster?
I joined April 2003.
Okay.
It's 19 years.
19
And
years.
yeah, it's coming up on 20. And I didn't think I'd stay. But at the time, I had two little grandchildren that was over at my house a lot. I mean, 2 and 3 years old, like, and a crotchety old dad that I was taking care of. And I really needed some adult conversation. And my best friend, who Trivy knows, my best friend said, well, come to breakfast. Come to breakfast. And I walk into a room with over 25 people. But it was a lot of fun. It did take her a while to get me to join my home club. But Elaine was persistent. And I was shocked. Elaine and I were in college together, and she was the shy, quiet one. So for her to invite me to Toastmasters, and that she gets up in front of people and the whole group and talks, I was amazed, just amazed. And that was it. I'm still here for the family conversation, all the friends. I mean, Phyllis Tribby was there when I joined.
And I certainly owe my background to Elaine also. I would not have had the future I've had without her persistence, as you say. She worked on me for 7 months. So I'm sure that she continued to invite you. So
Phyllis is her.
finally decide to come to Toastmasters? Was it just the adult talking? Because I remember you saying that the day you joined.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think about when I was younger and I was a playground leader in 4th grade, and I got to go over to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And so I had the whistle and I could herd the kids. Leadership starts. Well, in my own backyard, I was the leader also because mom didn't let me leave. I could only stay in the backyard. So I was the oldest. And I was always in charge. I had a little sister that was 12 years younger. So by the time she came along, I was, second mom. I was always the leader. Elaine has a different name for my type of leadership, but we'll leave it off the World Wide Net.
She can find a lot of names for the things you do wrong too. But bless her, we really love her for bringing to Toastmasters. Yeah. Can you tell us why you continue in Toastmasters? 19 years is quite a feat.
I know. It's amazing. And watching the cycle up and down, and I guess the learning, I brought in my background and what I'd done over all the years, the totally different careers, and seeing that you can be president of the club and you just service to everyone. I always trained once I got up higher in district, was training for president. All you do is make sure everyone else in the board is doing what they've said they're going to do as their role. And then it all falls together. So if any president thinks they're, really in charge, you can't. It takes all the rest of the officers to do everything. So that's one of the things I really learned is you're not the boss, you're just a leader. So I thought that was one of the best things I really, really learned.
Yes, someone asked me one time, what does the president do? And I said, well, it does everything that somebody else forgot to do that, and help them to remember what their real role is and what their job is as an officer. Not to downplay what they do, but to be sure that it's covered. So you need to know those jobs so you can help your officers be a success.
Yeah, that I think that being with Elaine, and she dots every I and crosses every T. And Tribby was the one that was, well, the numbers don't match. So when we get together, and I'm the one that just said, well, do it. Well, just, okay, how are we going to do it? Just do it. And I could come up with ideas, but everybody else had to make the plan better so that the plan worked. So when Elaine brought out the club success plan, and she's turning pages and saying, okay, and then there's this, and you're going to do this, and okay, and turn the page. And I said, what in the world is that? You just open up your books and you do your speeches, and when the competent leadership book came out and you had to keep track of all that stuff, I said, oh, it was so funny. I didn't touch mine for a year. And then I completed, I think, 6 of those competent leadership books because it just became a challenge and became fun. It's like, oh, I'm doing this today and I'm doing this. And we had some people, I have more signatures in my books.
I think that's true. I always made it a goal to have one CL, competent leader, and one communicator every year, which you're allowed to have one every year at that time. This was the old legacy program. And they were, I thought, the most helpful for the club to get to be a distinguished club. At that time, I already had my distinguished award. So
remember when you got it?
The club. Yes. Do you remember my bringing in my plaque? Yeah. I brought it in, showed it off, and right away, some people said, I'm going to get that.
Yeah. It was pretty funny. District leadership always scared me to do that. And the first time I did it, I volunteered to be sergeant at arms, thinking, oh, well, that's one of the officers. And it wasn't. It wasn't. And that's when we were part of California.
Right.
I thought, oh my gosh, do I have to drive to California for every contest? I can't do that. So, it was pretty funny. But I took 12 years to get my first distinguished Toastmaster. And that was actually 2018. And then 2020, I got my second one.
Wow.
So my daughter, Dana, Oakley, she goes, gosh, Mom. She got hers pretty quickly. And she's a yes kid. She became secretary of the club like 2 months after she joined. Took them a while to get me to become an officer. I sit back and I look at it and do I really want to do that? And it's so true. What's in it for me? It must be, I must just going to have to get a necklace that says that, because I look at it and I go, is it worth my time? Do I want to do that? Well, after 19 years, I still say that, because when they wanted me to be a division director, I said, well, no, my kids, I've adopted young girls. And I said, no, I don't have the time right now. I'm really busy with taking them to school, even though I don't work full time. It's the prioritizing. And that's something you can do in this, is prioritize. So becoming a district leader and being an area director the first time, was eye-opening. And I think more people, when they say, oh yeah, my club, my club, my club, but have they gone a step beyond and stepped out and visited another club? Oh my God, sorry. It's time to wake up my kid for school. It's you go to another club and you just sit and watch and you go, wow, well, they don't do it like my club. But you know what? It's a happy, wonderful club that's so welcoming, and all the roles are filled and they do everything. So it was an eye opener, because people had said that, oh, you should visit another club. And I didn't until I became an area director. And then all of a sudden I had 4 clubs, and it was amazing. And all the clubs were just so welcoming, just like it says, is your club comfortable? Is it welcoming? And that. So I'm sitting in the division director's house, and she says, and you talk about age and how long we've been around. And she says, well, we should start a club with all us old people that have been around a long time. And so there was a few rude names coming up that we were trying to think of. And then we thought, well, we're all sage leaders. We've been around. So we started a club with sage leaders, and your role was and it's an advanced club, and you had to have been a leader, starting with sergeant at arms in the club and on up into district and region, and now international director in the club. So the club has sage leaders, and we share a lot of information in that club. It's wonderful. I'm still learning. I'm still learning all the time. And Toastmasters helps that too. They have been changing the programs. And there again, Elaine got on the committee for Pathways when it was, what was it called, Phyllis? REP? Something like that.
Ambassador, probably. I was an ambassador.
Yeah, well, she was the other one, the one that, was on the, okay, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Supposed to be for 1 year, was 2.5, I think. And then they got the ambassador program to go out and tell everyone. So our group, my home club, Windjammers, was a beta tester for one of the paths, one of the levels. And I thought, and it was, of course, leadership dynamics. They didn't have that name at the time, but when it came back out again and rolled out, and it was like, oh, that's the one we did. And it was an amazing trip to learn that and to see what was going to happen way before it came out. So we were ready for it. We were absolutely ready for it. And we have a techie in our group that knows how to push all the buttons on a computer. So it was wonderful, because we just set up a program that every week after our meeting, we would go to Starbucks, and 3 or 4 people come over with their computers, and we'd say, okay, here's how to get on here. Here's how to go here to get your path. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do your levels. Every single week we did that for 3 months with everyone in the club. And that was so helpful, so helpful. So the new thing on our enrichment nights with the Pathways help desk, because if you're not in your path all the time, you do forget where things are and how to find it. You give a speech and you go back and you go, oh, I'm done. Okay, what do I do now? So
I will tell people that the training that you did, I did it at Wendy's, was open to anybody, because I did a couple of sessions. So I could learn better on pathways. And that's kind of how we help one another in Toastmasters. We're all here to help each person reach their goals and gain knowledge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had a girl join our club, and she goes, oh, this computer thing. And I said, well, there is a print button. You just open it up. You just won't get your videos, but you can print almost everything in that path. And she came in with a 3-inch 3-ring notebook, had all 5 levels, and zipped through that thing. I mean, and then she went on to do exactly what she set out to do with her computer and with her program. And she started training online. She set it up, she got through it, and there she is. And it was fabulous. I just mentored her on. And the biggest thing was, you can print it. You can print it and read it and then just go back in.
Yeah.
So,
People want to fight it, or they did. I'm hoping
Mhm.
that nobody is anymore. Do you still have some holdouts in your clubs?
no, even a member, Lee Horner, has been in the club since, ready? 1978.
Yeah.
And Lee Horner, who's had computer problems, but she is now on level 3 of a path. So, it's everyone, and even the new people, they're like, okay, show me how to do this again. You can't, unless you can read something and remember everything. Those wonderful people that do that. I have to write it down and push the step, and do not use the word just push that button. I know the computer is going to blow up. It's going to go.
No.
Everything will be gone.
Well, what I tell people is if you're not getting where you're going, go out of Toastmasters International, go back in. It's a clean slate and start over.
Start over.
I do it. If it won't go where I want it to, I just leave it all and start over again.
Oh, yeah. It's called refresh and reboot. I was in another meeting at another organization, and you check in on your phone and you can look at it. And I go back a month or so later and I say, but Dana, all these things are blank on my, they're all blank. And how come it doesn't track that I've been here? And she goes, well, did you refresh? And I said, what do you mean, did I refresh? I did what they said, and the answer came up, and now it's gone.
It's supposed to be here.
Well, there wasn't a refresh button. It was put your finger at the top of your screen and just drag down, and then it refreshes. And I go, it doesn't say that on there. How am I supposed to know that? Oh.
Because when I have these kind of difficulties, my son will say, Mom, where's my photo? Where's my photo? I got to see what you saw. Where's my photo?
When I learned how to use a cell phone, ask a 9-year-old.
Oh, I have a 13 and a 15-year-old. She's almost 16. And they are constantly, but Mom, it's this, with the new update on this iPhone, it keeps changing my lock screen. And they're really pretty yellow. God, it is a good camera. They're yellow flowers. And then one of them, it'll say blur. And when I have a picture of people, why do I want to blur them? And Dana says, well, because sometimes you can't see your little widgets through there. I said,
widgets?
Oh.
Widgets?
So I just put flowers or nature, and I don't.
So they really do exist, widgets. Okay.
Yeah.
Who knew?
I don't use them. They're these first part here where they're the big squares, and I don't know. Give me back to Toastmasters. I can do that.
Yeah.
So when you want to join a group of like-minded people, I look at clubs and I say, okay, well, what is this club like? Like authors and aspiring authors, one of our newer clubs. I haven't published a book. I haven't finished writing my memoirs, but I have 2 young girls that won't know the stories and the histories and what it was like growing up in the 50s and the 60s. They can't even hardly watch old TV shows to get an idea of that. They're on Instagram and TikTok and things. And like she says, Mom, Facebook is for old people. Although she did create an account just so she could peek every now and then. But, you know, they say that's for old people. Well, you have to know what the world was like, then what our stories are and why we train them like we train them at our age, raising them, compared to when I raised my first set of kids when I was in my 20s. So getting these stories down and getting these stories, we read our stories to the group and then you get feedback. And one of the girls that when she started the club has already published 3 books. And it's amazing. You know, you get the feedback, you get going, and we learn how you can do anything about publishing, whether you go with a publishing company, whether you self-publish, whether, you know, everything that you can learn about it. And that is a club. And we still do everything in Toastmasters. We have a talent agent, not a Toastmaster. We have a publisher. We have an editor. So we renamed a lot of the roles just to fit in the club. And it makes it interesting. It keeps it interesting. First off, for everybody to try to remember what we named it. Even though it's on Free Toast Toast and it's right there and all you had to do is read it. And it's online because we have people from across the country. That club is a niche, you know, like what's the other club in the group? The Toastmasters in the Kitchen. That I don't cook, and there's no way I can figure out how to do a couple of cameras to show anybody what I don't cook. But I hear everybody has a lot of fun doing that. So there's a lot of clubs out there that have a certain particular interest. My home club, Windjammers, we used that tagline where leaders are made, because when I was vice president of education one time and we're trying to get ready for a contest, we had 7 district leaders in our club, from division directors to a district director. I don't remember what part of the trio you were, Phyllis, but, you know, and then Phil was district treasurer. And I mean, how am I supposed to run a contest in the club and then help out the area director when I have to scrape around and find people that can do this role, you know, that are eligible? It was quite the challenge, but that club has taught me, I want to say a rigor, but there's a common way of doing things. We have forms that have only been updated to include Zoom or the new educational program. But other than that, the paperwork and the forms we use, and I'm looking around to see if I have one right here, because I don't clean my desk very often.
They are excellent forms, and I will tell you that I sent them to every new club that formed during my time as the trio. So they have crib sheets to run their meetings by.
And these forms were invented. And there again, Elaine, we had a general evaluator form that was 3 pages. Tells you everything what to do before the meeting, what to do when you got to the meeting to prep, and then how to be a GE during a general evaluator during the meeting. So we had a forms meeting one time at a friend's house, the secretary's house. We were going to get rid of all these old forms. We just had too many forms. We had to like all this. And just Elaine insisted on keeping that form. She said, they have to know how to do the job. And this explains everything. So there's that little 3-page form back in a folder. We get a new person, we show it to them. Then we give them the brief form that is easier to follow. Because, you know, I'm a bullet point person. Just don't give me the whole book. Give me the cliff notes. And that's only on technical stuff. That's how I don't know which buttons to push.
I heard much from you, Scott. You got some questions?
It's actually been nice just to listen.
Told you, Phyllis.
Yes. I'm curious, Phyllis Wall, as to, we are coming up on the new year, calendar wise, obviously, not the new Toastmasters year, but the new calendar year. And we will be looking for new leadership starting July 1st. of next year. That process will play out. And I'm curious, I mean, your leadership experience within Toastmasters is so broad and so in depth that I'm curious what you would say to somebody who maybe hasn't taken a leadership position with Toastmasters yet, or hasn't taken one beyond the club level. Club level is awesome. There is no doubt about that. Whatever role you are currently taking on at your club is extraordinary. What would be your advice, or what would be your pitch, if you will? Hate to use that word, but I will, to somebody who hasn't taken a leadership role beyond the club level, based on your experience and everything you have learned during your time in Toastmasters. I'm just curious as to your thoughts on that.
When I look at the people in the clubs and I see how they work and how they act, I do believe you need to know more of their background, not just how they enjoy Toastmasters. Only based on my experience, because there are a lot of factors involved in moving forward. People say, oh, I don't have the time. And then some people downplay area director, which is one of the first steps up and out, an area director. And they go, oh, well, you only have to visit them twice and you only have to do 2 reports and you have a contest, and they whitewash it. For me, and I didn't want to be an area governor. And I mean, there again, I've used my daughter. Dana just jumped right now. Oh, I'll be an area governor, and just, and in she went, and I was still taking care of my dad at the time. And it is true how much time you want to put in. It's all volunteer. Yeah. And then you reap the rewards. Now, for me, area director, I jumped in, I was ready. There's the clue. I was ready. I knew a little bit about it because I had gone with Dana a couple of times. And I had been in contests and I'd been around. And that's when I decided, okay, well, I want to step out and see what other clubs do. And I think that is the biggest thing when you want to pitch it to someone. Is what I gained was phenomenal in the friendships and seeing how other clubs were having fun and not going in and trying to redo them. It's like, oh, I like your form. That's different than mine. Just helping the clubs out, seeing what they're doing. You're the liaison for the district. So then I learned that, here's this form and it says, well, what can the district do for you? And that meant me. I went, well, I don't know what I can do for them. I'll just, watch and see. And I believe you need a little experience. People that come in brand new, unless they're graduate students from universities and have that grasp, which I didn't. I just had work experience, years and years of it. So to see how to help a club and to offer advice, I go to Toastmasters International. Don't reinvent the wheel. The answers are on Toastmasters International. You just click the buttons to find out. People say, well, how do I be a coach? Oh, well, I went in there and I went to Source and I went to Resources and I went to Shop and I found the booklets and read on how to be a coach. That was one of those where Phyllis did coach training. And that's one of those roles that being a coach is different than being a manager or being a leader. So you have to understand them. And Toastmasters International has the books already. Why reinvent the wheel? So when I offer that to anyone and I say, I find out a little bit about them, just like when you find out their icebreaker, what's their icebreaker and what's a little bit about them, and see whether they want leadership and want to move forward. And sometimes it takes people a little while, and some people just jump right in because they know they can balance those plates on the spinning wheels and have no problems with that. And I've seen that this year, even with our division directors and some of our area directors that are so sharp and can do 7 jobs at once. And that's what somebody saw in them. So I think you have to know the person and then just lay it out and offer it. Oh man, area director is so much fun. So much fun. Just
You're
take
right.
notes.
The
and watch.
friendships are enormous and they
Oh, yeah.
continue on. It's like
Yeah.
I said, when I was district governor, 3,500 people
Mhm.
became close friends of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still there today. So we want to thank you for coming. Our 30 minutes has just
Oh my God.
flew by. You were a great interview. I hope that you will
Thank
come
you.
back and see us again, maybe in a month or two, or the next time the kids don't have to go to school.
Oh,
We'll
well.
keep that in mind. Easter vacation, we can have Phyllis Wall on.
Yeah, she it's 6:30. It's time to get her up, and I leave at 7:15 to take her to school. So.
Ah,
To our audience out there, remember, Wake Up with Toastmasters is on every day. We are live, and so please give some comments, even if you're watching this in the afternoon or tomorrow. Those comments will be read. As
Yep.
far as great things going on in the district, you know, we're kind of calming down for the holidays, but would you believe we are still going to have game night on New Year's Eve?
That's right.
If you're a person that's alone, you don't need to be. Come join us on Zoom. You'll find all the information in your newsletter. If you didn't get a newsletter, contact me or Scott and we'll get you a newsletter with all the Zoom information.
Yep.
Scott, I think we're done for the day.
very good.
Thank
Thanks, Phyllis, and thanks,
You're
Phyllis.
welcome.
It's been a wonderful edition of Wake Up with Toastmasters. I
Thank
bid you and everybody listening, whether live or on the replay, a wonderful day. Take care, all.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.